Taking along in gold, 47.30. Expectation is to take out this short-term range here, up through here, fill in some of this space. My first take profit, it would be around the 149, around this LVN, the 149.50, and trapping these last sellers. We had an increase in volume down here, so expectation is that we can come up above and trap these short-term sellers. We had this large imbalance move down here, so minimum expectation is it will go to this 1950, anywhere in here, and then possibly all the way up into to fill in this space. But the LVN is around the 50 area, so we will see if we can get up above there. We're right around the open now, so I'll see if this can go. I got back in here gold long, and my last stop out was basically just a 10 tick loss for no reason. Never took out the low side of the range, which doesn't really make any sense, and then I jumped back in here trying to get in ahead of this top side of the range being taken out, and now we have taken out this small short-term range on a pretty nice increase in volume. Now we'll see if we can push up through this space right at my entry now. I'm going to de-risk on this last push, but it seems we are potentially on the right side, and it is fairly slow, but we have a nice increase in volume on that last bar. See if we can fill in some of the space, take out these highs. This last high tick area is a little bit of a concern, but we had pretty significant limit buying here and here. Another attempt trying to go lower and an inability to do so. So I'm going to take my target up to the 53. We'll see how we handle price around this 50. That would be the first short-term target for sure, but it looks like we are on the right side. We'll see how we take it to handle this high tick area, and see if we can push these guys out. Risk is off now. That was not a very good reaction above these highs. 49.60 is where we got to, but looks like I'm going to get taken out for a break even rather than locking in something on this trade, but it's fairly volatile. Spreads tend to be a little bit bigger on gold as well, so on demo it's easier, but I think that live it wouldn't be a very good trade. And this is going to be, that took me out. I got pretty unlucky on this one. On this pullback, came back one tick below my entry. Only two contracts were traded at this price. So, and then about 20 ticks in equity on this one before coming back to take me out. So this is a de-risk though into this. This is trouble. This is all trouble. So also to lock in profit something into this trouble area made sense, but I did not. Long the ES 67.75, right at the volume. Expectation is to go up to the LVN above and take out the range, and I am going to, looks like, be on the wrong side of this trade right away. The volume did not hold from above, and I took a loss. Reed was solid on gold. We can see that we've come back up and filled in all of this space, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that trade. But all the way up to the 54 basically, so way above. Unfortunate I wasn't able to get anything in there in this balance area, but we never took out the low side of this range, and I took a break even here and a 10 tick loss. So this is an unnecessary loss in here, being that I wasn't wrong anywhere. So I was just trying not to lose on that, just an arbitrary 10 tick loss because it went against me right away, so that's unfortunate. And now the ES trade, Kelly took the trade all the way down through the lows for a big winner, and I bought this at the absolute worst price at 67.75, thinking that this volume was going to hold and we were going to push higher, thinking that, but that's not what happened. And I immediately got on the wrong side and took a full 3-point loss right at the open. So that's pretty shitty trading, unfortunately. So right away in the morning, I'm way down. But now here we are, all the way retraced all the way back up to the volume on the ES, back to this balance range. So I'm going to see if we're just going to stay in balance or move higher. But not much to do here now at this point. There's a lot of trouble to the downside. Lots of volume here at the bottom, and the volume on this move down was up in here, so that's what he was saying as well. It wasn't like it was down here, so wasn't a lot of long side trade opportunities that made sense. And on a 5-minute we can see as well, came up, failed this range, and imbalanced down. So really all of this is weak here to come down and trade and take this out into this previous demand. And that's exactly what it did. So, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty clear to me, pretty obvious, and I still traded against it. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing sometimes. But, it's alright. Well, I'll learn one of these days or I won't. It's been a year now going through this insanity. Had a long order in here after this low tick back into this strong demand. Lots of volume. Lots of buying coming in here on the spike below the lows, and now we are moving up to take out the top side of this range. And I did not get a fill, so I'm going to pull my order at the 65.50. This LVN is pretty pronounced right here, so I could have also just kind of bought right at that area on a push above this volume. That would have been the aggressive long, but we don't really at that point have any trap shorts yet, so we could have pushed back down deeper into here, and then by the time we got the push, now we have the top side of this short-term range taken out. Big selling coming in here above the tops, and now we're selling back down. That's why I don't leave my order in for this pullback. It still may hold this LVN, but now this is looking like we easily could come back down into this for a push farther down into this demand. So not much I can do here. We'll see what happens if we push lower and take this out again, but this is significant selling. This is significant absorption in my opinion. Gold also now I'm looking to see if I can take out this. This is definitely a weak looking high, but after my botched trades here at the lows with my context and read correct, I'm just trading so poorly, not able to execute well on anything, trying not to lose as usual for that I've been just doing the same shit for years. But yeah, we'll see. One of these days I might learn. And the long trade at the open on the ES, that was really unacceptable. Possibly if we had come up and imbalanced through this and then taken that trade, but we just held the volume and just sold off. I was the last limit, the last longs trapped in this area before the flush down. So that's really unfortunate. Gold is potentially setting up for a long, but we have increased volume, but we have this space here. So I don't really like this. We could easily spike down lower into this area. So with the risk profile on this trade, it's going to be, see, this is what I was talking about. It's tempting to jump into here, but what do we have here? We have these longs trapped. So even more so, short trade down back into this space also makes sense into this really wide LVN. So I'll be watching this and see how we trade this and treat this trade back into here, but as it is right now, it would have been a mistake to buy the low side of this range with all these longs being trapped, these longs being trapped now. Yeah, maybe we come down lower and accumulate to break this high eventually, but at this point there's no structure for the long, so I'll just have to wait. And I missed my ES trade. We see we pulled back to the LVN again, and this is just a difficult trade here with this limit selling up here. We're holding this volume, so we're just in this kind of this short-term balance. I still feel we're likely to move higher and break, but that doesn't mean that we can't push all the way back down into this demand again. So also not the easiest trade. Along the ES 64 on this last spike down, I also bought this area and got taken out on this spike down, unfortunately. So I was early and took a full loss, and there's my long trade. It was a nice trade on the ES and this push down into fresh liquidity, and I shouldn't have taken the first long try because we hadn't broken this low yet and pushed into fresh demand. So that was an avoidable loss. And on gold, this is a good opportunity right here. Pulled back to the volume, and then once we pushed above and took out, and we had a lot of these shorts trapped, and this was the overnight high that I was expecting to break, and we flushed and pushed hard. I just didn't have a way to get into that long, unfortunately. Along the ES again on this imbalance push here, trapping these sellers back into the fresh demand. I wanted to see another push down, but I don't think we'll likely get it, so I'm going to give it a shot here, all the way up to break the highs at around 80. But because I bought a little higher, I am going to get my risk off now already because I don't want to see price spike back down into here. But this is the key for this trade, this LVN here around this area. And expectation is to come up and take out this high, the 78 highs, and up into, I mean, we really could see a flush of the overnight high as well, but I'm going to try to take it off to 79 or so. It's looking good. Happy with how I am just executing on what I'm seeing rather than waiting. Let's see if we can get a push. Potential to see some selling come back into this volume. Also going to start locking in at least a couple of points. I've given back so much equity on so many trades that it makes a huge difference. But this is an area that we could see potential selling coming in. So I need these last highs here to hold and push up, because this traps even more shorts. Yes, we have an area of limit selling potentially, but also trapping and likely to see the flush. Got a lot of shorts potentially trapped here now. Four points locked in. Nice response there. Pretty significant selling coming in here, so potentially could see even more shorts trapped now. But this needs to hold, and I stand the chance of getting taken out, but I gotta lock in a little bit of profit here. Just taken out for 16. This is the area that I was talking about of potential limit selling, and that's where we did see this selling response, and now an imbalance down. I definitely wouldn't want to be in this long anymore. Yeah, we could spike down lower, and at some point we'll take that high, I would guess, but pretty good exit. Even a little bit better into the 76, 75 makes sense, but you got to give it a chance to go. And I took it off at 60. 69.75. 69.75. Or not 69.75. 75.75. 75.75. So pretty good exit. About a point. Could have maybe locked in, but it's hard to lock in an extra point here, just taking it off as a target into this supply. But pretty good overall. Just some bad trading on this one right here, the -4 points, because I was impatient and didn't wait for a spike down into that liquidity, that demand liquidity first, which was this guy, and then the open trade, which was just garbage. Totally wrong read. We can see now this is how the market always trades. This final spike down, limit buying coming back in here before a flush of the overnight high. That's my read anyway. That's what's likely, but I'm not going to jump back in on this, but that makes sense. I might give the long another try if we can spike this low, come back down into this demand area. This makes a lot of sense because this double top here being seen as resistance, and it didn't even quite, it's one tick from the high earlier, so we'll see, but we're getting kind of high in the range. It's more risky to be buying high up here, but we'll see if I get a real strong absorption look on the push down below this low, and then maybe take a long in this 74.25 area, but that's 6 points potential equity, and if it doesn't work, I can probably cut my risk pretty quickly. So I didn't execute on my plan like I had talked about, push down into this previous demand, and then right at the level that I talked about, this LVN at 74 would have been the entry. Kelly talked about this exact same trade, and then it just worked out really well. Would have had almost no drawdown, less than a point of drawdown, and then just the explosion higher. So would have probably been an exit around 82, 80, anywhere in there, and would have been filled and shot right through my target. So missed opportunity for sure, but not really a very significant increase in volume. But I should have stuck with my plan and traded what I already had previously discussed. Would have been another probably 8 point trade at least. Here's a potential area for a long. I'm going to see if we can push back up above this into this previous demand structure. Shorts trapped here. Pretty significant buying coming back into this demand. So I would like to see if we could get all the way back up into the 90. I'm gonna give this a try. I believe right here. And see if we can hold this volume, push above. Target will be to take out this range. Seems we definitely have some potentially trapped shorts here. Seems like I always say that a lot, but this is really key and crucial to what I am trying to focus on, and seeing where the trap traders are, where the liquidity is, and focusing on those aspects of my trading. This is not a real big, not much risk on this one, so I figured I would try to get in, jump it a little early, but we also could push down again into this demand, so we'll see what I can get going here. Risk off now, and I think this has a real good chance because these sellers have the potential to be trapped now if we can push them out, and this has a real nice chance to get up to that 91 area that I talked about. As usual, I'm going to try to lock in at least 2 points if we can get a nice push, but now we're up into this previous range here, and I would expect a pullback to these previous trapped sellers, so I don't want to take this off too early, but I have a good position on this trade, and I just need it to go now. Have some nice increase in volume, but we could see selling coming in anywhere, but this was a pretty heavily traded range here, so we don't have any trouble up into the 89.25 really. So that is the first area that I would expect any kind of reaction. Holding these highs, some increased limit selling here, but now we need to go. We're getting close to the top of the hour, about 4 minutes to that, but I don't really see any reason to take this trade off yet. I am tempted to lock in 2 points, but we are seeing some increased volume now. This is where it gets hard to manage this thing and not get taken out and letting it play out, let the idea play out. I really do like it for the bigger move up, but not really seeing anything crazy to take this trade off yet. Really no strong reaction here. Some limit selling, definitely some two-way trade up there, but no rejections, so that's why I am more tempted to leave this on and see what happens when we head up into that LVN and that untested supply. Sometimes it's not easy, and it's kind of slower trade anyway right now, so I can't expect a big spike. We have quite a bit of offers stacked on the dome above, so that is also playing. Makes a lot of sense for the long trade that we would go up and try to get that liquidity. Can I just get a flush up before getting taken out? Real nice reaction there. I'm going to start locking in 6 points. 6 points locked. See if I can run to that 90.75 target. But that was a beautiful reaction, and come on, get it before I spike down. Some pretty significant volume. Oh baby, got it. Full boat on that one. Beautiful trade. Couldn't have played out any better. See where we came up to 92 or 91.75. My exit was into the 90.75 here, into this structure, the low side of the structure. So this is where we would expect to see a reaction in, with just a beautiful exit on this one as well. And now we're selling off hard. So beautiful, man, that feels good. It's like golf, you know, when you just hit that perfect shot, and that's what keeps you chasing it. But except for those shit trades in the morning, that first one, especially the open, there was no excuse for that trade. Other than that, I was a little early on that other one I talked about earlier. I could have avoided that one. So just having a really good day trading, and I'm feeling better and better every day. But you know, it's emotional roller coaster always. But I know what I need to see in this market, and I just need to be patient and execute. Patience, passing on the shit trades that I know tend to be bad, and then just executing. I'm still not pulling the trigger, trying not to lose. When I see what I want to see, I need to execute, pull the trigger immediately. And if I don't get my pullback, sometimes that's not necessarily the issue, but sometimes I just pass on trades, and I'm like, I don't understand why I passed on that. That met all of the criteria that I was looking for, and I just pass. I'm like, I talk myself out of trades on some bullshit little squiggle or volume that is completely insignificant. But you know, that's the pitfalls of trading a discretionary method. But man, days like this, it just makes you feel good, and you feel like you know what you're doing. Do I know what I'm doing? I don't know. We'll see long term, but Feels good. And I had a short opportunity on gold. I was trying to again trade for this takeout of the high a day. We put in this low here, taking out this range, and came back to the demand area. And I was trying to get a push into this short-term range in here, and we just never got it. I think the last opportunity for the long was right in here when we had this was a clue to me, this last short-term seller trapped, so buying in here. But then again, you're buying at the top of the range. I thought the move likely to take out this liquidity was very likely, and we spiked out hard, and that was just a liquidity spike. So continuation longs were sucked in here. The shorts were stopped out above this high, and then at that point I was looking for any opportunities on the low side of this area when we had all of these longs trapped. I tried to get in before this moved down, and once we broke this low side of the range here, I pulled my order, and then we had another opportunity here. But now, I mean, that would have been good for at least a decent little scalp anyway, but I missed it. One more observation on my trade is that after this low tick into previous demand was made, that was my kind of entry into this, and not a great trigger. So I would say maybe I got a little lucky, but if I wait again for another flush lower, I'd never get the trade. So the stop held, but I was definitely potentially a trapped long in this trade. So maybe I'd say I got a little lucky, but I still think it was a good try. And the key to this trade was this volume below, this strong limit buying here, and then the imbalance above. That's always what I'm looking for, is a flush of one side of the range would being this short-term little range here, and then an imbalance above. So the way I used to trade, this would have been something that I probably wouldn't even have taken because we had an interior high tick. I was always so obsessed with high ticks and low ticks, and this trade is automatically invalid because we broke above this short-term high, and that really was detrimental to my trading because I'm missing out trading where the orders are and where the ranges are, and avoiding and ignoring the information about where the trapped traders. And on this one, it made a lot of sense. So glad I took it. Did I get a little lucky? I didn't get stopped out, maybe, but this push down also had decent volume at the bottom of the bar. The volume on this bar was in this area, so it had a lot going for it. Another small component that I've added to my trading is getting a 5-minute chart, because sometimes I get a little bit lost in the short-term 1 minute. So for a little bit more context, I've been adding in the 5-minute, which helps. It's a nice blend between the short time frame and the longer 15-minute where you can't see much. And we can see, I didn't mention this, but this again, when we pushed down, even though we imbalanced, so pulling a lot of shorts in this area, but we held yesterday's high. So we rejected the top side of value here, and that's really what got me also into this idea that we may be going higher. So also kind of now looking for continuation longs to challenge this high a day, but until we really get back above this 91 area, I'm hesitant unless we get some really large volume on a test. But in the short term, it looks like we could potentially have some trap shorts here again, but we had some limit selling coming back into here, and that also could be potentially any of these stuck longs that were in here from earlier. So I think I'm done for the day, but I wanted to talk about this last trade. And what happened is we put in this pretty big spike down in imbalance when we found supply up here, and I've just was watching this, and we came down to take out all of this liquidity here, and didn't quite spike into this lower level here, but where we did end up stopping is in this fresh untested demand, and what we can see as well is when we came down, the spike down below these lows put in some pretty big absorption, came back in, and we tried down once more on increased volume again. And then the imbalance up here is what was my kind of my clue that we really potentially had some traders trapped. Any short traders that were thinking that the market was going to continue lower. And this is this LVN here. It's not really a very pronounced LVN at all. This is a very balanced day for the most part. But then we came down, tested one more time into this demand structure right here, and held. And at this point, really anything in here, the 89s, this is a good long to take out the top side of this range, and then all of this liquidity is likely to go. All of these highs, all of this is pretty much, in my opinion, was weak. And I didn't take the trade. I was kind of checked out doing other things, but wanted to talk about it a little bit. And it would have been a great trade. Very little to no drawdown, and probably would have taken it off into this area at the 94.50. But also it was valid that we were going to see this high tested it at the very least, and a run to the 45 round number, and that's exactly what we did. We could see prices much higher, but I'm going to be done for the day. Really nice day overall. 550 up with 3 wins, 2 unnecessary losses, but a really nice day.